Teresa Lisum is joining us today on Awaken and Ascend to share why knowing and understanding your superpowers creates confidence and more belief in yourself. Teresa is passionate about moving women from self-doubt to self-empowered, working from their personal superpowers to find their successes just by being their authentic self. As a self-discovery coach, she inspires women to embrace their unique talents, fostering confidence, power, and resilience. She is committed to leaving a healing legacy. Teresa's message is clear. Believe in yourself and strategize from a place of strength. I'm Jennifer Regular, your host on Awaken and Ascend, and I welcome all of you who are joining us. And of course, Teresa Lisum, our special guest for today. Teresa, such a delight having you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for the invitation and this opportunity and to be here with you and everybody listening. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I love that you're talking about superpowers, because that just kind of builds up this confidence. And it's also a fun way to draw on our strengths and like, what is our superpower? What is it that we're putting out into the world to be able to rescue or uplift or really just create the confidence in humanity? And you work with women in particular. And I'm curious what inspired you to do that? What inspired you to
Well,
go along that
of
route?
course, my lack of self-confidence and my self-doubt and not having enough belief in myself, not seeing myself as valuable. So when I was introduced to the strengths concept years ago, it just really, really resonated with me. But I didn't pay a whole lot of attention. So I just kept kind of tapping into it and coming out. But every time I connected back in, I was just like, oh my God, I love this stuff. This makes so much sense to me to really see who we are in our own unique way and really embrace it and know it and understand and be able to articulate it. And then really feel empowered just by knowing what our superpowers or our strengths are. So then I jumped in 100%, took some training, really embraced it completely. And now, of course, I want to share that with the world and with other women so that they can feel better about themselves and feel empowered and more self-confident and have more self-belief in themselves.
Absolutely. And what do you feel your superpower truly is? How did you come to discover that?
Well, what I use a tool. So my starting point with myself and with anybody is the Gallup Strengths Assessment. It also goes by Clifton Strengths Finder. So it kind of is one and the same. So that's a starting point. It's a half-hour assessment that you take at the Gallup website, and they spew out a report of 34 your strengths in your unique order. And there's nobody else on the planet with your strengths in your order. Literally, I have it broken down by the numbers.
Wow.
So there is nobody else on the planet with your lineup of strengths. So once we have that report, then we can really go to town and dig into it and really look at the top 10 strengths. And I like to call those our zone of genius. Those are our superpowers, those top 10 strengths. And that's where we shine, where we're our most authentic, our most creative, our most productive. We have the highest energy, and we just show up in the world in our best possible version of ourselves when we know and understand those top 10. And typically, once I start digging into those with people, they'll be like, oh, yeah, that's me. But you never know because you use them so easily and that comes so naturally. You don't think of them as being strengths or anything unusual, or you think everybody thinks like that. No, they don't. They do not. But once you understand that everybody's working from their own unique strengths or superpower perspective, that also has allowed me to be less judgmental, give them more grace and more understanding and accepting that, oh, they got their own lineup of strengths that they're operating from as I have my own. So it's helped me that way as well.
Yeah. And so what was your number one? What was on the top of your list?
My number one is called input. So, a person of high input is a person who loves gathering information, loves gathering data, loves researching. And literally, yeah, that's what I do. I mean, if I could do that all day long and not do anything else, I would be perfectly happy in my life. But it's like I'm always gathering information that I can use for somebody else. So I'm always thinking like, oh, I should probably keep that or know about that so that I can use it in the future if
Mhm.
somebody needs it. So I'm always gathering resources in the hopes that it's going to be useful or valuable for somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I came across a quote one time that I really resonate with, and that speaks to balance coming from living 100% your truth. And when we think of balance, we're thinking of grounding, centering, being at like this still point where, nothing throws us off kilter,
Mm-hmm.
completely aligned. And yet, you also talked about when we tune into that authentic self and tune into our top strengths, then there's this energy also that's
Mm-hmm.
cultivated that
Mm-hmm.
comes up and that drives us, right? And that's the
Yes.
passion.
Yes.
And the way
Yep.
I see
Yep.
passion, when you break up the word, it's pass I on. That I being your
Ooh.
fullest expression of what you're here to pass on in this lifetime. And so I'm curious how you pass that on. So knowing that inputs your like number one strength and your superpower in gathering things to be able to use for yourself and then also to be able to share that with others. What is that drive to share your input?
Well, I do want to say I love that what you just said about passion.
Mm.
Pass I on. I love that. That is fabulous. So see, my input brain is like, ooh, I got to make that into a post. Ooh, I got to do a little real video on that. So like my brain's already thinking like, ooh, that's good information to share with other people.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect example of my input strength. I
Mm-hmm.
do want to, can I talk about my positivity strength? Would that
Oh,
be
yeah.
okay?
Let's do
So
that.
that's a really good example that really came into my awareness in the last couple of years,
Oh.
which we, had some difficult times there.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I was like a positive person my whole life. That was just natural and organic for me. But I didn't think it had a lot of value for other people. That's just me. That's just my personality. That's my perspective on life.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we were in that isolation mode for a year or two or however long it was, I realized how I can use that to help other people stay above the fray, okay, to share my positive energy with the world because everybody's energy seemed like it was really low and fearful and distracted and all these negative things were going on, but yet I could see the positives. I was focusing in on the beautiful creative ideas coming from people who had to pivot and do something different, and they were using their own gifts to help the world stay uplifted. And so
Yeah.
I was able to focus on that. And so that's when I realized like, oh, some people can't do that. They're going to focus on the negative and they can't detach from that. Whereas I can help uplift others with my natural sense of positivity and my ability to see the good that's going on out there in the world and help other people. Like they can lean on my positivity to
Mm-hmm.
help them stay or get back to a higher state. So that's when it really dawned on me that, oh, that really is a superpower that other people don't have. And I can leverage that to help uplift the world.
Yeah.
So that was a biggie for me. So thank you for letting me share that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really glad that you did. And I'm glad that you continue to share that positivity and the positive attitude and the positivity approach, to living life
Mm-hmm.
and facing the different challenges and adversity that comes about. And there's another quote actually that I had seen, and it was about leadership, that positivity, being positive in a negative situation isn't naive. it's leadership. You know, and so
Love
that really
that.
puts someone forth. And yeah, I love that you love the way that I had broken down passion, because that's something that's one of those divine downloads that came in and
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
way my eye, that I was passing on into the
mm-hmm,
world, and thread that through all my different offerings and the Own Your Purpose program, and the monthly master classes, and that sort of thing, to really help people identify what that means and come from a place of authenticity and build that confidence, the courage, curiosity, and compassion that moves us forward, that helps us go through. And where tend to work with visionaries, it's the energy and passion that really has the greatest impact. So supporting them as well through like soul care practices, for example, and the self-care. And I know that you too talk about that in a way of removing self-doubt to become more self-empowered, for example, and really being able to build that confidence as well. And yet there's still a lot of resistance to putting ourselves first, seen as
mm-hmm.
selfish or having that self-care. And that's why I think soul care is more of the new self-care, because then we really look at what feeds our soul, and finding and engaging in the things that we truly love, and letting that allow us to live aligned with our values and be able to prioritize our time and energy in the best way. And so, really putting ourselves first also puts us in a position of leadership. And so, I'm bringing this up because you often talk about, especially a women's, but really anyone's strength and their resilience and building that confidence as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, what kind of process or steps do you think, like, what does it take to actually really step into that sovereignty, that authenticity, and be able to put themselves first, to feel comfortable in doing that
Ooh,
and empower themselves through that?
wow. That's a big question. And hopefully I can do it justice in my answer. Knowing and understanding yourself, I believe, is the best way. And knowing your strengths and your superpowers are just one piece of it, are one way of knowing yourself. But just allowing yourself to really understand, and like I know I high positivity, and that's something I can use to serve others. I know I love to gather information to serve others. Some people don't realize what they are good at. Like you said, know your values. I didn't know my values for a very, very long time, up until, I'm going to say, 10 years ago, when I went through a practice and exercise where we were, encouraged to try to figure out what our values were.
Yeah.
And that helped me determine, when we decided to move cross country, to be close to my grandkids. It was all because of those values that I had learned about prior to that. If family was one of my top values, then that helped me make the decision faster and better and clearer to move cross country to be with my family, closer to my family. But it was only because I knew I had figured out what my values were. So I think it's really important for each of us to really invest some time and some practices, or connect with people, to really truly understand ourselves. And that gives us the confidence and the courage, as you said, to kind of put ourselves out there to serve others.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a lot of practices in place that I do on a daily basis. I constantly bombard myself with positive messages. Like you said, you have these quotes that
Yeah.
you just bring to your head. I'm guessing that's from that positive input that you're always bombarding yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have this constant practice of things that are good and that are enhancing your life, it's very easy to spiral down into something more negative, because of the way the world is and the negative messages we get. And so we're constantly being bombarded by this negative. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's our job, our responsibility to ourselves, and to put ourselves first by allowing or be discerning what we allow in, what we allow our focus to be on, what we allow to pay attention to. Does that make sense? Did I?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
It's super important what we invite in, what we don't, to practice that discernment. And like you say, the first step really is self-awareness and
Mm-hmm.
self-discovery. And it's really a
Mm-hmm.
pilgrimage that we take through learning to know ourselves, really getting to know
Mm-hmm.
ourselves really, really well, and taking the time to build and heal our relationship with
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. Years of self-neglect and self-denial and putting other people first and not
Mm-hmm.
knowing what our values and needs are. So really coming to understand what that is, what that looks like, and awareness of our strengths as well, and
Well,
how to
and I think,
share
I'm
that.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think as women in our society,
Mhm.
we're taught to put everybody else first.
Sure.
You nurture, you help take care of others. And we're not kind of given the permission to take care of ourselves as part of that.
Yeah.
We're not taking care of ourselves at the neglect of others. We're
Hmm.
taking care of ourselves as part of taking care of everybody.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
including ourselves in that.
Absolutely. Yes. When we talk about, creating this inclusive community, that includes ourselves too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep,
Has to.
yep,
It has to.
yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I know that you have a playbook, which I love. It's not a workbook, it's a playbook, which makes it really fun to
Mm-hmm,
create that awareness, right? To find that
mm-hmm,
self-discovery, to find our superpowers that you're actually offering to the audience today. So tell us
mm-hmm.
a little bit more
Yep.
about that one.
And I'm all about fun. So that's why I took the concept of strengths and started calling it superpowers.
Hmm.
And so I have a little character where I'm in my superpower cape. And it was all because I wanted to have fun. I wanted to inject fun into whatever I'm doing, into my business. So that's where the playbook came from. It's just the tool. It's meant to be fun, but it's also meant to be like a quick jump start of creating that daily habit of that positive input,
Ah,
those positive energy, those positive practices that I've used for myself and put into place for myself. And I put it into a playbook to kind of help others create their own positive routine. So it's a real, like there's some journaling prompts. There's some small, short meditations around self-confidence.
hmm.
Trying to think what else is in there. There's using a big essential oil person. So I offered some oils that you could use to help enhance and, bring in a positive energy. So it's just a variety of practices or actions that people can pick and choose and create or weave into their own positive routine, because I really believe it needs to be a routine. It needs to be part of your daily life. It needs to be something that either you schedule in or you just create a routine around it,
Hmm. Hmm.
such as brushing your teeth and that kind of stuff. It's just routine and habit. So creating our own positive habits that can help us keep our energy in that positive frame of mind throughout the day. So that's what's in the playbook. You
Oh,
can
perfect.
create your own from that.
It sounds so inspiring and a perfect way to integrate these practices into our daily life, and
Mm-hmm.
so I really appreciate that. And we're going to have the link for that in the show notes, of course, along with
Mm-hmm.
some other free guides and also a link to my book, which is all about a healing journey of self-discovery that you go through
Mm-hmm.
with some journaling prompts as well. But Teresa, what if people want to connect with you? Is there a website, some social media links that we can also provide?
Yes. Right now you can get to me. I have a link tree website that has all my different links on there listed out. But I'm on LinkedIn. Just type in my name, Facebook, YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, so it all goes by Teresa Lisum. You can reach out to me through any of those platforms. I'm not on Instagram and I'm not on TikTok, but
All right.
I'm trying to get on Pinterest. So I'm trying to do that too. I can only do so many things though,
I know. I know. Perfect. So we'll have the link for you in the show notes as well.
Yes,
So
yes,
people can
please. Thank you.
find you in all the different ways. And I'm curious if there's anything else that you want to be able to share and give to the audience today. A
Oh,
message,
wow.
tip, an
Just
experience, whatever you want.
I don't know. Just don't be afraid to take care of yourself. Don't be afraid to push your comfort zone out, even if it's a little bit at a time. I mean, mine has been a slow journey of pushing out my comfort zone. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a baby stepper. Like I just take little baby steps and that's okay. Kind of know what you're able to do. Are you able to jump right in 100% or you have to like take it slow?
Mm-hmm.
And whichever way is fine, but just make a decision. You have to make the decision first, make your choice, and then just keep kind of pushing that comfort zone a little bit at a time. And before you know it, you will be stepping into something maybe you always dreamed about or something that had a goal set and you're don't feel like you're getting there. And then don't be afraid to reach out to people like such as yourself. There's so many wonderful people in the world that are eager and ready and willing to help anybody else step into their best version of themselves. So yeah, it's not a journey that we need to take alone. We have wonderful people that will help hold our hand along the way.
Absolutely. And embrace the mystery because they show up the most unexpected times,
Oh
sometimes
yeah.
very last
Yeah.
minute. But I love that
Yeah.
you brought up the point about it doesn't have to be a gigantic leap. That might work for some. For others, it's those small steps forward, the baby steps. But you know what? All of it is moving forward. And,
Yes. Yes.
gently going past that comfort zone, which I call entering the growth zone.
Love
Expression and
that.
the
Love
expansion
that.
and the growth happens there. The growing of
Mm-hmm.
self-empowerment, the growing of self-esteem, the growing of your strengths and abilities and capacity, of making the impossible possible, even.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to be brave enough and curious enough to step into that growth zone. I love that you brought that up and that it can be baby steps, small steps. They're all steps forward. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, there's more steps forward that y'all can all take. We'll have the links below
Yeah, for
for any of those
sure.
guides and books and resources and connections that
Mm-hmm.
may support you on your journey of healing and self-empowerment. Teresa, it's been such a delight having you. Always so much fun when we engage in conversation together.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you
For
for being,
sure.
yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been so fun. Yeah, I love deep conversations. That's one of my strengths is engaging in deep intellectual conversations. It just energizes me. So thank you for the opportunity, Jennifer. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. And you know what? I'd love to extend that opportunity to each and every one of you that have been tuning in because there's space for comments below. So tell us what your strengths are. What do you want to be
Mm-hmm.
sharing with the world? What do you feel your strengths are and abilities are? What's your eye that you're passing on?
Mm-hmm.
We'd love to hear from you too. And of course, give
Love
us
that.
a thumbs up if you like this video. We always love to be able to extend this to others and grow our audience so it
Mm-hmm.
can reach more people. So always appreciating your support. Thanks so much for joining us today. And again next week, I hope, on Awaken and Ascend. Bye for
Thank you
now.
so much. Bye-bye.